Yo, it's Guido coming at you with another review, and this time of the third reward tank coming for Frontlines. And the other thing, I still cannot remember what it is. I didn't like it. It was boring. But anyway, I know you guys liked it. It's fine. But this is one of the Tier 9 reward tanks. The Soviet Object 777 version 2. This is impressive, guys, because this is something new in World of Tanks. World of Tanks has released a relatively bad Russian tank. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's not great. It's like a bad ST1, a weakened ST1 mated with a slow and kind of bad T10. And the progeny is a worse tank than either one of those. I'm going to be honest. All right, we're going to look at the overview, tech tree, 3D model, comparison, my stats, my setup, and some examples, such as they are. Perhaps a bit of what I'm going to tell you is colored by the fact that I didn't do great in this tank. Did I not do great in this tank because it's a low sample size? Because I'm bad? Because of both? I don't know. Or is it the tank? You decide. I'll talk about it. We'll look at the numbers and how I did. You can see that overview-wise, it was a unique project of a heavy tank, developed somewhere that I can't pronounce. By 53, design plans were made and the dummy vehicle was built. Well, that sounds appropriate. It is kind of a dummy vehicle. The prototype was to feature a cast hull and streamlined turret. The 122 T62 gun was to be mounted on the tank. However, development proceeded no further. It never entered magic production. Mass production. Maybe it is magic production when it's a Russian tank. Good. That was a good plan, Soviets. I would have also not produced this tank. All right. Low slung, relatively wide stance. Does make it a kind of small target. Turret is nice and rounded. It's not nearly as good as you would think. It is a fairly small tank, but all the Russian tanks are pretty small. Slightly lower than the ST1, but not a whole lot smaller. You can see the German tanks are just massive. Got the AMX-50, it's just huge, and then the boat of this thing. So it is a relatively compact, heavy tank, but it's not compact enough to matter, to be quite honest, as far as being hard to hit. It can use some kind of nice hold-down spots. It does have a fairly easy time protecting its hull, but the turret is not great. And like I said, we'll talk about that. It just doesn't heavy tank very well, which is kind of interesting. All right, let's move on to tech tree considerations. If you are just looking for gameplay, head to the back of the review. I forgot to talk about that a little while earlier. It is a reward tank. There are no modules to unlock. It does have 4 crew members, commander, gunner, driver, loader. I'm not going to go through all of the Russian tanks because they are, quite frankly, all over the place. A lot of them have extra gunners involved, but it will train the core guys on your tanks. For example, the IS-4 actually only has those 4. That's good. The IS-7 is going to add an extra loader, so you can see it's a bit all over the place. 705 Alpha, I think, is a perfect match. There you go. So that's a newer line. The 705, not Alpha, and the ISM, which I think is 5 crew. No, the ISM is also 4 crew. So there are some tanks in amongst all these where it will do just fine. I believe the IS-3 is also, yes, the IS-3 is also one that it will work for. So there are tanks in there that it will work for. It's just that you're going to have that extra guy cooling his heels when you're driving your 777, typically a gunner that's involved in that. Let's move on to the 3D model. 3D model. All right, 3D model. You know, this looks pretty good on the surface, but in actuality, it does lag behind a lot of the other Soviet heavy tanks at Tier 9. That's pretty good, 290, but really anything with over 300 on its heat shell, or even if there's any APCRs, I don't know if there are any APCR, but I think there are some. Somewhere around 300, you're going to start buttering this guy's turret. You can see that the hatches are a little bit weak, but they are hard to get into. There are some kind of spots along the sides right there where it flattens out just a little bit, but the hatch itself is pretty weak. The hull is okay, not amazing. It will angle pretty nicely, actually, but that's quite a bit of angle. Now you're exposing side. Obviously okay for heat, usually, but APCR is going to have a pretty easy time going through the side of that. The turret is rounded, and it is quite thick. Even from a side shot, 230 is pretty nice, actually. Some of your Tier 7s are going to have trouble going through that. even the side part of the turret. So it does look pretty nice, but 250, you put a little angle on it and you get off to the sides and it really gets to definitely auto bounce and ricochet kind of thing. So you are kind of counting on getting right into this little bit of side bit right here to where it's only that 250, 270 kind of effective armor. But like I said, anything over 300 is going to have a pretty good time. And the hull itself is not great, although it is decently angled. If you can look up on it, the flat plate's not much. If you can look down, obviously, not too much. So a little bit of angling right there is going to do it pretty well. The problem with this is it's got these tracks sticking way out there, and while you can't, there's no hitbox right behind those tracks, they can track you. So a lot of your tank comes out first, gives them opportunities to track you and perma-track you and give you trouble with that right there. So the armor profile is okay, but we'll look at the comparison and see how it compares to some of the others. And it doesn't have the pike nose, so that's good and bad, because there are some things about the pike nose that can make it a bit trollish on people who are trying to shoot it. But it is just kind of a flat V, more or less, although this front bit right here and the lower plate is just not great. All right, let's move on to the next. I wanted to use the comparison tool to just look at the Russian heavy tanks at Tier 9, because holy cow, there's a bunch of them. Look at this. ST-1, T-10, 705, 257, and the new IS-3 too, the double-barreled guy. So you look at the damage per shot, it's 440. It's right in there, not as good as the 705, so that's nice. It has the same gun the ST-1 and the T-10 has on it, essentially, which is a pretty darn good gun. Gives you a 258 penetration. You can see it's top of class as far as these tanks go, so not bad for average penetration, pretty good. Rate of fire is 4.5, slightly lower than the other two, which is not great. You can see that's because the reload is slightly longer on it right there. I don't really know why it got the same gun and then a worse reload. That was interesting, because if you come down here, it's got a pretty bad average DPM at 19. In fact, it's the worst of all of them. Slightly worse armor layout, not great mobility, has the same gun, but it's a worse platform for it. Very strange. You look at 0.4 on the dispersion, much worse than the rest of these guys. I mean, that's kind of rough, actually. The gun's a bit derpy. Aim time's faster, or at least faster than the ST-1, and in line with the rest of this stuff, but a 0.4 dispersion, low DPM, and longer reload on a not great hull kind of makes this thing basically worse than all this. I threw the IS-3 too in there because it's new. It's a different kind of animal. It's got pretty bad hull armor, but it's got that double tap thing going on. But it is one of the newer Tier 9 heavies out there for the Russians, so I threw it on there just for comparison. So that was a bit odd to me, because we get down here to the armor, and the hull armor is 132, which is worst in class. The angling is pretty nice, all right, and it's not pike nose, which can be hard to use. And the effective kind of turns out to be the same, but I don't know. Based on what I saw playing it for 10 games, people had almost no trouble going through this thing's hull. Only very occasionally when you had that great armor profile going. I don't know. Any kind of height or lower advantage makes it very easy. This thing squats so low. A lot of people are looked down anyway, especially if you're close in brawling. So it really negates the angles quite a bit. It just found the hull armor to be not great. Not great. Even though the number shows lower, which you'd go, okay, naturally it's worse. Now, the T-10's not really known for its armor, but the T-10's armor is just about as good as, from what I saw, as the Object 777's. So, not great armor. The turret is, I don't know, okay at 258. I just didn't find it to be that reliable. I was surprised a bit by the ST-1's turret, because it seems to bounce a lot better than the 777 did. And it's even got 8 more millimeters on it right there. The rest of them, the 705 is known for its turret. Obviously, the 257 has an amazing turret. Even the Object, or the IS-3 version 2, has better turret armor, and I found its turret to be pretty butter as well. This surprised me too. It's one of the lighter ones of all these guys, but it's 10 kilometers an hour slower than the T-10. And even though it's got kind of a comparable weight load limit, and its specific power is better. So it's got some other numbers in there, hidden stats, that are hurting it, or it's speed limited to 40 for some reason. When I first saw it, and its weight and the way it was set up, and it had a pretty good gun, and the armor was okay-ish, I kind of expected it to be more in line of the T-10. Kind of a fast, relatively lightly armored tank, but it didn't pan out that way. It's very sluggish at 40. Not quite as slow as the IS-3 version 2, but not much faster. I mean, think a 705 and an ST1, how sluggish they are. This dude is right there along with him, and that did surprise me a little bit. Traverse speed's not great, kind of slow. But hey, look, this is where she excels. We've got some concealment in our heavy tank. First in class, and my goodness, look at that signal range. They really doped out the radio on this bad boy, all right? We got 850. We can reach across to other maps with our radio. I hope those weren't taken in as balanced consideration. So, look, I'm kind of being down on it, and it's not terrible. That's not the point. But I would say it's a worse combination of an ST1 and T10 and does nothing that either one of those does better than it does, right? It's not fast, relatively light and agile like the T10, so it's not running with the mediums, but it's not a big armored behemoth like the ST1. It tries to kind of do both, but fails to do either, I think. And really the gun derpiness kind of just kicks it right in the face, to be quite honest. All right, that's the comparison on the Object 777. Let's look at my stats. All right, like I said, I'll be totally honest. Some of how I did with this probably is coloring my review just a little bit, but usually after 10 battles, I can kind of get a good feel for the tank, and I feel like I did with this one, and it just wasn't that impressive. I ended up with a 60% win rate, but that could have easily been 30% in 10 games, especially since I only averaged 1957 on the damage. The 257, I'm at 2400. The IS-3 I'm at 2600. The 705, I'm at 2600. So really lagging behind the fight. I would expect that to come up. I would suspect this is a 53 to 55% solo rate, win rate tank for me, and I would expect this to be maybe 2400 based on my experience so far with it. The hits are okay. There's that derpiness. I mean, I would really love that to be a lot closer to 75 and even up to 80 with a heavy tank that you get into close with and brawl, but it just doesn't hit, dude. It just doesn't hit what you aim at. So that's a little misleading. That's higher than I think it would be. Battle survive 50%. That's part of why I have a decent win rate with it. So I could hang around, and the armor would work on occasion, but it just wasn't amazing. And that is borne out by a 0.68 armor use efficiency, which is actually pretty bad for a heavy tank that's supposed to be armored. That's not good at all. Again, low sample size, so let's not get too crazy. Damage ratio and destruction ratio were okay. Experience, when I approach 1,000, that's good. So I'm actually getting things done. It's just not a lot of damage, unfortunately. Damage received at 1487, so barely, not very much over on the damage caused to my average of taking. And 560 on the assist. Spotted and destroyed are okay. I was playing as a heavy tank, and it does struggle a bit in that role, to be quite honest. So that makes it a weird hybrid that it's not great at heavy tanking, but it doesn't really have the speed to hang out with the medium. So you're kind of in this weird in-between land that's not great. I managed a 3,400 damage game in my 10 games right there with the whole 3 tanks killed. All right, let's take a look at my setup. Pretty standard setup. You can see I had a decent crew, 2 skill working on their 3rd. Not amazing. That could have had something to do with my limited results at tier 9. I'm running vents. I have a rammer. That's mandatory. I have vert stab. There's an argument in today's meta to get rid of the vents and go with optics. That may be an option if that's the way you play. I think those are the only 2 real serious options for equipment. Had 8 heat rounds. The heat rounds are dropping 340 pen. That's kind of this thing's one trick. It has a lot of pen, and that's pretty much it. 30 AP, and I carry 2 HE. It's got a lot of rounds, so 2 HE isn't hurting anything in case I need to do something like reset, something that I'm having a hard time penning. It has that special kit. This has been the hallmark of the 3 so far reward tanks from Frontlines, and the other thing, that they have these permanent kits you can't take off, but they're plus 15% to module repair speed. You know what I don't know about these, and I just thought about it. I don't think these cost you any money. Interesting. I don't think they do, even if you burn one. I'd have to test that, not sure. I'm carrying a large kit, and then I've got a fire extinguisher. Obviously, you could run a directive for expert firemen, or whatever it is. Suppression, extinguishing, I don't know what it's called. The directive for that, and then run some food, and that would help you with the gun. So this may be a food kind of tank to bring the gun more in line with some of the other tier 9 Russians. That's basically how I had her set up. Let's look at some game examples. All right, first example for the 777. You can see we are here on Erlenberg coming in from the south. Nobody's really going over to deal with the castle, so I know I'm going to probably take some aggro from the left side. We'll move up. I have the Conqueror with me. I'd like to get into that middle portion if I can. But we pretty immediately get stopped by a T-54. You can see this Lynx is there, and all of a sudden a mill is there as well. So I'm going to say, all right, well, what can this heat do? Well, 340 heat can do quite a bit, actually. Well-angled 1951 turret. Now, that's not the strongest of the mill turrets, to be sure. But no problem going through that. This is a bad shot. I tried to sneak one in there, but that's never going to do anything. Probably should have gone for the track, so I'm going to push in here. I know the Conqueror needs help, and I'm thinking, holy cow, this 705 is eating his lunch. So we'll just come in here, and we'll try to get a shot. There we go, a little heat right in there, even with the stun from the 53-55. I unwisely moved back. I let the Emil have a shot I shouldn't have let him have. Coming on here, I'm trying to avoid getting shot by the 705. I'm able to wiggle enough. This was just dumb. No reason to go there. I should have just gone right by him on the reload. He already shot me once. Tried to take him out the lazy, easy way. Good news is that the Conqueror gets reloaded. So we'll come in here again with the Emil. I see him sitting there. I get for the reload, and I'll just kind of snap one on this guy. He's not really looking, and I nail him for a nice high roll at 499. The gun is, I called it derpy. It is. That was kind of lucky right there. But it will get the job done if you can hit him. The heat is just really nice. You can see I'm spamming the snot out of it. So we'll come out here. I've got this Defender. We'll just plunk. No problem right there. We'll drop 419 on that shot. A little low roll. I have a Malshin, a 111-14, and the Defender's getting torn up. Just a little late. I was trying to get into that lower plate and I end up tracking him, but it does slow him down. He takes another hit for that, and I get some assist up to 1,000. I've got 1,800 damage. We've got guys that have come across the bridge. They're in the middle there, so I'll just push in to help. Already going in. I'm going to ignore that guy because we need to peel the 111 1-4 out of here and get rid of the Defender. Our Defender looks like he's going after theirs. I'll come in here, try to snap one. Oh, just don't quite get there. He does a nice job backing up. Trying for my reload. Guys going at him from every direction. Come in here. I'm waiting for that reload to come in. We'll sneak one underneath its tracks, and I'm trying to back up so I don't get shot by him. I'm not really interested in that. The mill's ramming me. He wants to get shots, but I just don't want to get hit. I'm quite irritated. He shoots me. Good on him. If he'd have just got out of my way or not jam me. He wanted me to go by, but I didn't want to do that because I was going to take a shot in the side. So we'll come in here. Normally I do actually do those things for people. Come over here looking for a shot. Bit of a long, there we go. Finally zooms in. We can get a shot on that guy up to 2,400 damage and 1,500 assist. Trying to stay out of the way of the STA-2, but it looks like I'm getting ahead of him. Sneak around here. I'm looking for a shot on the Progetto. We'll just keep on coming. I'm pretty sure I don't have anyone on my right based on the 432 has cleared that area, so I'm okay with coming across here. We'll come in and look for a shot on the Progetto. We get a sneak shot on him. 130 shoots me in the back. He's getting dealt with by multiple tanks. Not too worried about him, so we'll push in, and we've got the M53-55 right there. We have a Conway unaccounted for. The 6x6 is getting tracked down. There goes the Su-130 who was over there. I'm pretty sure the Conway is going to see me and I'm going to eat a shot. I know I can take one. I'm hoping I can light him if he hits me. He hits me and I do not light him, and I eat 565, so I definitely have to cover up. I'll just shoot along the azimuth of the shot. For some reason I'm on HE. Looks like I tried to fix a track and I didn't have a kit. So that was stupid, and I don't realize that I am on HE. So let's see what that does for me. Taking a while to zoom in, and it gives me a whole 168. So that cost me about 300 damage. Because I'm such a muppet, I was on HE. Get one more shot then in there on the Conway. He's getting torn up. That got me lit, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm at 3,000 damage, 1,670. And there's a good example. We were top tier, so it was a good setup. The penetration with the gold round is really this thing's kind of big deal at tier 9. All the rest of it is a fairly common Russian heavy tank. You can see with a little bit of wiggle and jiggle here, I was able to bounce a shot or two. I guess it was only one actually at 490, bouncing the shot of the 705. So let's move on to the second example. All right, second example ends up being a loss. We're on Live Oaks. I'm headed up the tracks right here. I've got a Barask, a P-44 Pantera, the Centurion, and the 34B. So I'm the only tier 9 going this way. We are top tier. We've got a crowd going into the city. Kind of wish I hadn't knocked that tree down. I try to avoid doing things like that. They have a pretty good force going to the city, and we don't. Looks like maybe the ST1 and the T-34 will eventually get there, and the JT. We'll come here, we'll come down low, and we actually do a pretty good job early on right here of dealing with their guys on the track. They don't send a large force. I'm able to bring this heavy tank in here. It's nice that I could do this unobserved, because that way it's going to surprise them when I show up coming up this hill right here. I see their Type 61. He seems to want to go across, or at least use that hold down position further back. So I feel like if he's further across there, I should get some shots on that guy. The EBR lights me, but I'm going to keep coming up, and then I find it's actually the 103 that's further back, and the Type 61's closer, so I'm able to sneak one right into there. We'll thump the 103 once. EBR is trying to circle. 4202 is not really paying attention to me, so I'll just take this opportunity on that. There it is. Now the Type wants to push in, so I punish him once. They're able to take down the Barask, and we've got the Type 61. They got the EBR raging around. The 103 is not being very smart. He's still coming up high. I don't know if he really realizes that I am shooting him and that I'm shooting him from right here, but I think he finally does. Reload's relatively slow on this. Not terrible. 4002 again is ignoring me, so I'm just going to use this opportunity to come up. And I actually shoot into the 4202's roof with the heat, and that nice penetration is able to go through that guy. EBR is raging around. The 103 dies to the 5355. And I'm just waiting, this case, for the EBR. I'm thinking, yep, nice and close. We'll just take a shot. That was bizarre because I was pointed right at him on that, and it looks like it just shot left of where I was aiming and was able to get a shot put into him. So I'm going to start working on the 4202. I noticed that it went through his turret, so I'm going to say, all right, well, am I going to be able to just punch through his turret? I bounce. Boom, right in the same spot. Another 468, leaving him 4 hit points. EBR bugs out. The Type 61 realizes he needs to get out of there. He's trying to make a runner, so I'm going to come up and try to punish him once before he gets away, and I make a really bad shot. I just shoot right when he's crossing in front of the dead tank like a Muppet. I was trying to minimize any shots coming back at me like artillery. And then I'm looking at it going, well, the city's not doing great. And I know what happens here when people win the tracks and they're not absolutely dominating in other spots. There's another 471 from an Artie Muppet. Somehow hits me on the back slope. It looks like that was a direct hit, so that was fantastic. Is that right? Right through the turret right there. Don't know if that was a shot earlier or what, but I end up eating a bunch of HE from him. So he's gouged me for 900 hit points. I do come up here just to take a look and see if we can't catch somebody out, but I'm looking at this going, this is not going well. Over on the city side, they have a lot more tanks, and I don't want to entice my team to push in. I take a couple looks here, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is not looking great. I wish I'd have chose to turn around a little bit faster than I do. The T-34 peeks up and over, takes a shot because he's spotted, and I think he actually eats some artillery here pretty soon, and that's more or less what's going to happen to you if you attempt to push this spot right here. I figured I might get spotted. T-34 looks like he's pushing in, not paying attention in any way, shape, or form to what we're doing. He eats 402 from Artie. Me and the Centurion, the Barask or the Pantera dies, unwisely attempting to go around the outside, and all of a sudden our win over here is a bit of a Pyrrhic victory. Lost 2 pretty good hit point tanks for no real good reason. There just wasn't any real ability to push in there right now. It was not a permissive enough environment because the city is losing. So we're just going to actually fast forward here as I have to now move into the buildings right here. I've got 2,600, but I'm just not going to be able to push across right here. And now I'm going to have to kind of rely on this thing's accuracy, and it's really going to let me down right here. I'm trying to find this dude. Nothing going right there. A couple things in the way that were stopping me from getting a highlight on him. Plus, I think he was actually behind the little rise in the terrain there just a little bit. I'm hoping the ST1 and the Centurion, unfortunately the ST1's out in the open, so he's not long for this world sitting where he is. I'm hoping to get one of these kind of long-range sniper shots, but this is not what this tank really excels at. I know somebody's eventually, there goes the artillery taking down that guy. I know somebody is eventually going to find the 6 o'clock is open. So I shoot, I get lit, I'm backing up, and I'm kind of exposed to Artie on this corner. I'm sort of protected, but they can splash right next to me, and this is not a great spot. But I've got to try to stop these guys. So I've got, that guy dies, I don't really have a shot on him. Checking 6, and all of a sudden, holy cow, I have no idea how the EBR, and that's probably actually what lit me earlier. There was nobody in front of me. I didn't even notice that guy. He got right by me, and that's going to be a big problem. So now I'm going to come in here and go, okay, I can just shoot this guy. Let's see. No. Bounce. We actually hit, and we bounce. Plus, we eat another 187 from the Artie, and the EBR has killed our Artie, at least one of them, and my shot did not work. And I've got these stupid bricks in my way. I shoot behind him and miss, and it's just pure misery at this point, attempting to take these guys on. You can see that the Renegade's pushing in, so I'm hoping to catch him out right here. Can we get a shot? There, no, not happening, not fully zoomed. Bad dispersion for that range. The other Renegade's pushing in, and what looked like maybe a manageable situation because of a big rush just collapses in moments. Collapses in moments. My inability to get rid of that EBR really limited my ability to come across. So maybe I'll get him here. Oh, look at that. We finally get shot in the back by a T-30, who I bounce somehow. I just got enough angle on that guy to survive that big hit. And then I'm getting surrounded. So we'll back up. An HE from a 140. I don't really know what on earth that guy's doing. I get one more shot in on that guy for 417. Try to survive. He shoots me for more HE, and then finished off, looks like by the Renegade or one of these other guys shooting me, coming in there. So enough mobility. I wanted to show you this because it's not quite like the T10 where it can really run with the mediums, but it's got enough mobility to get there. The depression is okay and it's workable. That's what I wanted to show you on that ramp over there while I was coming up the hill. Could get some things done. I was able to go back to reposition back and try to help out at the cap, but 3,453 damage, 575. And the other thing about showing you the losses, this is kind of how I felt in this tank most of the games I played. It's a heavy tank that doesn't quite heavy tank and doesn't quite medium. And so it was hard, it was really difficult for me to find that kind of middle ground where this thing should be. Should I go to the city? Should I go to the tracks with the mediums? I don't know. It's hard to determine based on its capabilities. It sort of does both, but not really. Let's look at the third example. All right, third example, you know, I just feel like I'm coming down on this tank a little bit, and I think I am. If I played it more, I might get a slightly better opinion of it, but I don't think it's ever going to be, holy cow, this is a good tank. We are here on highway, spawned into the northeast, coming down here to the south into the city. All right, let's try to heavy tank with this thing. Let's see what the heavy tank action can be. We'll come around this corner. Going to knock down these bricks right here. And we're looking for a shot on the Foch. We got crap stuck to us. That drives me crazy. I'm trying to knock these stupid bricks out of the way, and we still have that metal post stuck to us. Thing won't go away. Eventually it will disappear. It'll time out. So we're trying to find a way to side scrape maybe, which is weird with this tank because it's got these tracks sticking out the front. It is a mid-turreted kind of tank, so that's a little bit difficult. The side scraping isn't easy. I mean, it's got a decent armor profile for it. Not too bad. And then I see these guys pushing in, and I think, all right, let's just go ahead and try to get a little damage. We'll just shoot this guy right there. No, that's going to bounce because you're shooting heat into the side of something with a good angle. And then we got the Emil. He's making a little backup deal there. So let's see if we can get a shot on him. There is a guy behind. Yeah, I get hit by the Foch, and I hit by the Foch. And I don't quite have the angle I want. I finally create the angle I want, but I still eat another shot. And holy cow, oh boy, there we go. We get tracked again. And he has another shell. Isn't that thing a 6-shot autoloader or some crazy crap? It's at least 4 that he took at me. Oh, there we go. There's another one. Oh, and I bounce off his side in his tracks. And we are down to 600 hit points with 0 damage. And we've managed to bounce 1,200. So we did a little heavy tanking in there. A little bit of heavy tanking. He's on a reload. It's quite a long reload, so he takes a hit. We'll come in here and see if we can't get a shot. I try. What? I think I just missed, actually. That looks like either that or I bounced off his angled side. Somebody else helps take him down. The 257 here actually appears to be AFK. I push in because we got a good push going. And I told you I had a decent win rate with this thing. We were able to stick it into that shoulder point right there. I had a decent win rate with this thing, but this is the kind of game I just felt like I was getting. I would win, but it would just be this, you know, afterthought kind of tank. Like, what is my purpose in here? To kill AFK near-dead 257s at phase 1 tries to come around the corner. The T95 FE 4201 just absolutely destroys things right and left while I'm attempting to make some kind of shot. So we'll just push in here. The FV's pushing in. We have a 4005 and a UDES 16. So we'll come in here. I kind of pause. Oh, look at this. We got a nice shot on this guy. We'll just zoom, 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 and boom. No, nowhere near the guy. Dives down and right into the dirt. Now he's running, and I'm not moving. I should have probably just pushed in. I'm thinking, can I just reload in time? No, I cannot, because the reload on this thing is actually quite long for the gun as compared to the other tanks that have the gun. Then I'm thinking, well, let me just sneak a little shot. I could probably... I don't know if that hit. It might have hit. It might have hit, actually. I didn't see it hit anything in the back. 1390's running in. I let him go, and nothing we can do about that guy, at least not the speed of this thing. I could start moving that direction if it was a case of the game was really in the balance. I probably would have. Now I see the UDES, and he's over here. So, oh, there we go. We're going to get a shot on the UDES, so no worries. Long zoom, bad dispersion, trying to work this out. And I bounce off the side of an UDES. Got into one of the angles of the turret, or God knows, I don't know what. Maybe we can get a shot on the FV. He happens behind the only building in the possible way. I take a prayer shot to hope to clip the back of him, but nothing happens. And there we go. Speed this up, because I think the 1390. Do I get a shot on him? I might actually. No. Oh, I do, actually. Here we go. So, my last opportunity to get a little damage. There he is. All right, zoom, zoom, zoom. Boom. No, right down into the ground. Very, very frustrating tank for me, guys. It has to be said. Like, you know, I'm just going to leave it at the end there with it. It has a hard time heavy tanking. It's just mediocre at it. It has a hard time medium tanking. It's just even less than mediocre at it. It's a meh tank. At least I think the good news is it's not overpowered, and it's a unique tank. And I think there will be people who kind of like the way it's set up. I just found it to be overall kind of very below average. That's all I've got for the replays, guys. All right, let's wrap this up. All right, that's my review of the 777, Object 777 version 2 overall. I would say it's the worst of the three. If I was to rank order the three prize tanks or reward tanks for the tier 9, I was going to say they're only for front lines, but they're not. They're Steel Hunter and front lines at this point. It would be the Char Futurer 4 as the best. I like the AE Phase 1 next, and then this one would be the third one. I think it's more of a collector's tank, but time will tell, right? I could be wrong. I did not like it that much. I like it as a collector. I like it as a cool-looking tank. I sort of thought it was kind of a cool-looking tank. And it's not terrible, but if I was to rack and stack those three, I would put it at number 3 as far as prioritizing which ones you would want. That's just me personally. But if you need another tier 9 Russian heavy tank, of which there are many, and you want the worst of all of them, then this is probably it. Not saying it's a terrible tank. Of those, I suppose there's an argument for the IS-3 too, potentially. But at least it's got the big double barrel going on, right? Which makes it kind of fun. This thing is just a worse ST1 T10 wannabe, really, at the end of the day. I guess that's just the honest truth, man. I hope you like it, though. And if it turns out to be better, we'll revisit. But that's kind of the way I see it. I'll call it like I see it at this point. That is all I've got for this review, guys. Thanks for coming by. I do appreciate your support of the channel, as always. Good luck getting your reward tank. And if this is the one that is on your list, good luck getting it. And I hope you do well with it. That's all I've got. We will see you later.